Shifting gears to the WNBA here, because the collective bargaining agreement between the W and its Players Association, it is set to expire this week on January the 9th. Now, Napeesha Collier, she spoke on the current situation from her team's unrivaled game last night. Take a listen.
I think you've just heard a lot of chatter about, what we're asking for is not sustainable for the business. And being on this side with Unrivaled, I know what it takes to run a sustainable business. So I think if they can't find a model that makes it happen, they need to put people in place who can, because we've proven that it is possible. There is a way, and we're thriving in that. And so I do think a deal is going to get done, but we're standing firm in what we believe in. We're not going to back down, and we can't take less. The sport has just grown too much. It would be a disservice to the people who came before us, to the work that we put in, to take less than.
Napeesha Collier just blew up the WNBA from the inside. As vice president of the Players Union, she publicly declared the league financially broken, while quietly running her own competing basketball league. Let that sink in. She's negotiating on behalf of WNBA players at the same time she's trying to recruit them to her startup, representing the league's labor while actively undermining the league itself. The audacity is staggering. And the fallout? It's about to be absolutely nuclear for players, owners, and the future of women's basketball.
Napeesha is saying absolutely, and the reality is the deadline is just a couple of days away. So she's saying that she sees a deal getting done, but also that they are not going to take less. Where do things stand now with those negotiations?
Yeah, Malika, both sides are still very far apart in these negotiations. Rev sharing is still at the centerpiece of these conversations, as they have been for the past couple months. What would a revenue share system look like? What would be considered revenue, and how would you account for expenses? Those are all things that are being discussed right now. Now, last week, Malika, multiple sources familiar with these negotiations told ESPN that the WNBA is projecting that a proposal by the Players Association that has 30% gross revenue and a salary cap around $10.5 million would result in $700 million in losses for the W. That is
So here's the real question. Can someone truly negotiate in good faith for a league while actively building its replacement? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this situation is messier than a pickup game at your local YMCA.
Well, the co-founders of Unrivaled, Stewart and Collier, are, of course, VPs on the committee. The very committee that voted to authorize a strike against WNBA and NBA owners over the CBA. The very committee that authorized the proposal that would lose the WNBA $700 million. The very committee that is turning down salary increases of about 9 times.
Let's talk about conflicts of interest, shall we? Because Napeesha Collier just wrote the textbook on how not to handle professional responsibility. This woman is literally the vice president of the WNBA Players Union. You know, the role meant to fight for players within the WNBA, while simultaneously co-founding Unrivaled, a competing basketball league. That's not multitasking. That's a contradiction. It's like being the head chef at McDonald's while opening your own burger joint across the street, then loudly complaining that McDonald's burgers aren't good enough. The sheer boldness would almost be impressive if it weren't so completely unhinged. And here's where things get spicy. Collier didn't quietly build her league on the side. No subtlety, no discretion. She went full scorched earth on the WNBA during CBA negotiations. She stood up and declared that the WNBA's financial model is unsustainable. She literally said, if the WNBA can't find a model that makes that happen, they need to put people in place to plan. Excuse me? You're the VP of the Players Union, and you're publicly trashing the league's entire business model? That's not negotiating. That's sabotage with a smile. But wait, it gets better.
Ankle surgery or whatever it was. I don't get it. This is in January. You got hurt. Makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. That, in my opinion, that shows a little bit of lack of interest in your own business, I guess. Especially in light of the fact that Unrivaled doesn't have any.
Collier then used Unrivaled as her shining example of how basketball should be run. She claimed the league has proven it's possible to be sustainable, that they're thriving. She doubled down, declaring, "We're not going to back down, and we can't take less." Thriving. Let's talk about what thriving actually means, because apparently someone needs a dictionary. Unrivaled is propped up by private investors. That's not profit, folks. That's venture capital keeping the lights on while you hope to someday make money. Saying your league is sustainable because investors are throwing cash at it is like saying you're rich because your credit card hasn't been declined yet. The delusion is genuinely staggering. One fan absolutely nailed it when they said, "Getting investors isn't making money." Exactly. Investors aren't revenue. They're basically saying, "We believe you might make money someday, so here's some cash so you don't die immediately." Meanwhile, TNT is reportedly taking massive losses on Unrivaled. And the moment those ad deals dry up, when the money stops flowing, poof, gone, vanished, like your ex who swore you'd stay friends. And here's the kicker, the part that really sent me. Collier had surgery during Unrivaled season. Let me repeat that. The co-founder of this supposedly thriving, revolutionary basketball league chose to have surgery and miss games in her own league, but somehow couldn't schedule it during the WNBA offseason. Make it make sense.
Saying, no, our proposed model would still result in the W being a profitable business. So just on that alone, we can see how far apart these two sides are. And now as that January 9th deadline comes on Friday, there are a couple different things that we could see happen. One, a deal get done, as Napeesha Collier said she's confident can happen. I'm being told that is less likely. So if that's not going to happen, we could see another extension be agreed upon, as it has happened a couple other times during these negotiations. The current agreement could just run out, but they could continue to negotiate in good faith.
If that doesn't scream, "I don't actually believe in my own product," I don't know what does. Actions speak louder than press releases, and her actions are screaming that even she doesn't think Unrivaled is all that important. Now let's talk about the hilariously obvious differences between these two leagues. Unrivaled is a 3-on-3 league. Small rosters, one location, one gym, one tiny arena. Meanwhile, when Caitlin Clark plays, the WNBA is packing massive NBA arenas with tens of thousands of screaming fans. The contrast couldn't be more obvious if they tried. Collier is running what one brilliant commenter called a Big Three-level, studio-style basketball league. Basically a stage setup with maybe 1,000 people in the building if they're lucky, and then has the audacity to tell the WNBA it should follow Unrivaled's lead. The comedy writes itself. Someone else asked the most reasonable question of all. How many of those tickets are actually being sold, and how many are just being given away? Because let's be real, when you're a startup league desperate to generate buzz, you're probably handing out free tickets like candy on Halloween. That's not sustainable attendance. That's manufactured hype. And here's what really kills me about this whole situation. Unrivaled is in its second season. It's barely out of the womb. One person absolutely demolished this argument by saying, "This is the first week of the second season. How do you know how sustainable the business is? You don't. You can't. It's like a toddler trying to lecture their parents on how to run a household. You've been alive for 5 minutes. Maybe pump the brakes on the life advice." Another fan summed it up perfectly. A 2-year 3x3 pop-up league? Please come back when Unrivaled lasts 3 decades. The WNBA has been grinding for years, building infrastructure, negotiating TV deals, establishing a real fan base. And Collier thinks her little experiment that's been around for approximately 10 seconds should be the blueprint. The arrogance is genuinely breathtaking. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Caitlin Clark. While Collier is busy trying to burn the WNBA down from the inside, Clark has been doing the exact opposite. She's revitalizing the league in real time. She's drawing crowds. She's pulling in eyeballs. She's making the WNBA culturally relevant in ways it hasn't been in years. And what does she get in return? A union VP actively undermining the league's financial stability while simultaneously demanding players get paid more. The math isn't mathing. Think about the position this puts Clark in. She's out here being the face of the WNBA's resurgence, driving unprecedented attention, revenue, and momentum, while her own union leadership is publicly declaring the league unsustainable. How is that defending her interests? How is that fighting for her future? It's not. It's self-serving nonsense disguised as player advocacy, and fans see it. The reaction has been absolutely savage, and rightfully so. People are calling the union's stance ill-conceived, reckless, even foolish. Online, Collier is getting roasted with the intensity of 1,000 suns, and nobody seems prepared to answer the questions being asked. Because here's the core problem. You can't serve two masters. Instead, she weaponized her role to wage war on the league itself, leaving players, especially the stars driving real growth, holding the bag while she promotes her startup. The precedent this sets is dangerous. If union leaders start working against their leagues while building competitors, good faith negotiations in professional sports are dead. And for what? So Collier can say she stood firm. So she can point to failed negotiations as proof the WNBA is broken, conveniently ignoring that she helped break it. Bottom line, Collier gambled big and lost bigger. She bet she could force the WNBA's hand with an ultimatum backed by her thriving alternative. But her alternative isn't thriving. It's surviving on investor life support. Meanwhile, the WNBA, led by stars like Caitlin Clark, is actually growing, actually filling seats, actually building sustainable momentum. And Collier is out here trying to convince everyone the sky is falling while standing under a perfectly clear blue sky. She tried to play both sides, and ended up serving neither. Her failed power play left the WNBA in chaos and proved one thing loud and clear. Loyalty matters more than leverage. If you think union leaders should represent their leagues instead of sabotaging them, smash that like button and subscribe for more unfiltered takes on sports drama that's too wild to ignore.